Welcome to the Founders Lounge, where business meets bullshit and everything in between.
We're live.
Gotta put my zen in.
Why you gotta stop that stuff, man?
Why?
Because you're taking little pouches of nicotine every 15 minutes.
Amazing.
That's the one thing I'm really glad.
That
You know,
mug.
I
Can we
did.
talk about that mug for a second.
Let's get a tight shot on this one, and I'll give this exact mug away for anyone that likes and smashes that button. Just kidding.
You should give it away.
We could do a mug giveaway. I got a ton of these damn bonsai mugs, and that's bonsai mugs, bonsai marketing mugs. I never got, I did a lot of stupid stuff, but I never got into dip. I tried, or cigarettes.
Man,
I'm about 90% of my buddies that I know are still some form, but
I started smoking at 14, and then I think around
you
18,
smoked
for four or 5 years.
Wow, man, I
And
can't imagine you with a cigarette.
I was 18, maybe older, maybe 19 or 20, and I was on a job site one day, and one of the kids that worked with me chewed Grizzly long cut.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, let me have one of those. And he fucking told me no. And I was his boss.
Oh,
I'm
that's
like,
awesome.
you little bitch, give me a dip.
Not because he's being greedy,
He's
but
like,
to protect
no,
you.
I don't want to do that. And I'm like, what? And I just kept
That's a
badgering
good guy.
him. And he looked at me, this is no shit. He looked at me and he goes, I'll make you a deal. I said, what? He goes, I'll give you one. But if you come into work tomorrow with one of these in your fucking tool pouch, you owe me $100. Sure as shit. I had 3 cans in my truck and 1 in my tool bag.
That's
the
just
very next morning.
That's just a smart dealer.
Never picked up another cigarette, but then I dipped forever.
Yeah,
all the
we
way
toyed
up until
with
probably
it.
last year when I started these.
So those wean you off
I
a
don't know
bit
if they wean you off. These are just, it's just nicotine.
because
There's no fillers.
because you're eating them like Skittles. I mean, I'm watching you pop them. I mean,
hey, this is what it is, buddy. All right.
what are we getting into, man?
So
Is that coming in?
there's,
Yeah.
could you stop it with the
I'm
mug?
checking.
There's a scene in a movie called Knock Around Guys. If you haven't seen this movie, you need to go watch it. It's a cool flick. But there's a scene in this movie, and it's a bar fight scene. It's always resonated with me on a serious level. I'm going to have fun and joke around with it today, but you're going to get the point. It's really resonated with me probably since around high school when that movie, I was in high school when the movie came out and I seen it. And I'm like, man, I get it. You know what I mean? And he walks up and he just looks at this, country redneck and he says 500. And he says, that's how many fights I told myself when I was a kid that I had to experience before I could consider myself a legitimate tough guy. And he goes on to explain about how you need them to develop leather skin and to develop this toughness within. And that always resonated with me because I was bullied a lot. Because I was always the small kid.
Yeah.
Right? I was the runt. And, I mean, obviously I got my fair share of physical fights. But for me, it's more the mental thing, dealing with how many times you are bullied and that mental, how it fucks up your head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I guarantee you I'm more than 500 of them in my entire life. And a lot of people are. And, with all the talk about mental health now and technology and cell phones and devices being out there, the way that people are bullied now has escalated to a level that it was never at. I mean, I look at what I dealt with my childhood and junior high, high school. Had we had cell phones back then?
Oh man, can you
Holy
imagine?
shit.
It never turns off. They're like, you can't go home and at least get a little bit of a break. Because it's happening on the digital hangouts.
I mean, for me,
Yeah.
It started in grade school. I had blue collar parents. We couldn't afford Air Jordans.
Yeah.
Back then it was Umbros and those shoes, whatever you're wearing.
The
loser.
Adidas. Yeah, but I was in your boat. We were a blue collar family. So
But-
keep going.
I didn't have the name brand shit growing up in grade school, and we got picked on for it a lot. Me and my brother both did. And then, that graduates into junior high school because it evolves, right?
It carries with you. Without
definitely does.
it becomes your
And,
persona.
Then the things are just bigger, more expensive things. It's coats, it's you name it. And it's just things that I didn't get to have as a kid because my parents just flat out couldn't afford it. And then in high school is where I think I reached a breaking point. And it was when I was wrestling, right? I was okay. I just was kind of average. I wasn't a starter. You know, I didn't start on the varsity wrestling team or whatever. And I got picked on a lot. Those varsity kids, they fucking broke me. And I can remember one instance, we were at practice and our wrestling, practice room. At the time, at the old high school that we were at, it was called the Dungeon. It was a room, no shit, probably smaller than
It's
the
like in the
studio.
basement of the
Yeah,
school.
yeah, really tiny room, right?
We had the pit. Yeah.
And you were broke up into weight classes, and we were just doing like live practice rolls and shit. And I was just getting fucking annihilated. And they were picking on me at the same time, right? So I'm getting more mad. I'm not,
physical and mental beatdown.
And
yeah,
one of the older kids had noticed it and stepped over and kind of intervened and basically told him to shut the hell up.
Yeah,
or he was going to get involved. And I always appreciated that. And from then on, I don't know if it was that moment, but it was almost like I had reached a point where it had kind of turned me into full circle, where it was like a fuck you moment. And at that point, I hated everybody. And that's when I started to get into that whole kind of a rebel phase of my life.
Yeah.
I didn't hang out with the same people. I didn't care whether I was hanging out with the jocks or the cool kids or whatever.
The cliques. Yeah.
That's when I got into music, started smoking weed, hanging out with the alternative kids, because those kids were experiencing the same shit. And we had something in common. Right, we hated everybody.
That's it, man.
We hated the status quo.
Yeah,
and I think that whole having to be a part of what is called status quo. I'm 45 years old, and I still have that mentality, and it was caused by that.
I mean,
seriously,
it's weird that we're. It's not weird. It's good. We're talking about it, but I've been, and I think maybe it's our age too. I'm got a couple years on you, but I realize, and the older I get, that acceptance is survival. That sounds really weird. It's like, oh boy, that's insecure. No, it's not. We are pack mentality. We're tribal character. Doesn't mean acceptance by everyone, but we just want to be accepted by something. So anyway, to go back, but I love how you just said it. It's like it still sticks with you. Maybe you mature what acceptance means to your life.
Well, what I'm going to get into is how that mentality.
Accept me, Don.
Of course. How that mentality basically matured as I matured.
Gotcha.
And it kind of changes and morphs, and I've used it. I have been able to use it. I've been blessed and fortunate and grateful to use the whole going against the grain and that sort of thing to do the things that I have done and have the mentality that I've done, and not really caring whether or not I was a part of a bigger group or a bigger segment of people, right? And we still do it to this day within Clean Eats. The way that we position our brand, the way that we operate. I've made it very clear that I don't want anything to do with the franchise. That whole scene. I just don't.
Yeah,
that's a cool kids clique for me, and it doesn't jive with me, and I don't want nothing to do with it. So that's what I mean by, like, I'm 45 years old, and I still have that whole kind of, this thing over here is trending. This group. It's a cool kids club. Fuck you. I don't want to be a part of it.
But you're still accepted by, I'm trying to think how we'd put it. You're still accepted by a group. It's just not,
absolutely.
It's not the popular or whatever you want to call it. It's this popular. It's the alternative kids. Right. I mean, you're right. It comes full circle. Sorry. So.
And I'm not saying it, that I have this mentality now and I'm using it to, be an asshole. It's just kind of developed into my personality. And I think a lot of people are afraid to admit that out loud.
I mean, I think also, though, like
they hide it.
They totally hide it. They totally hide it. I mean, there's a lot of cosmetic fake bullshit out there. But I also think you get a confidence to say, take it or leave it. This is who I am. When you do have a circle, it doesn't have to be the biggest circle in the world. It's that
you
core.
Just touched on where I was going.
Okay.
With it. So that whole thing gave me confidence to kind of be my most true, authentic self. It took me a long time to figure that out and get there. And sometimes I still battle with it, because sometimes I have to, even now, I'm like, okay, well, I'm sitting at the head of the table of a pretty large brand. There's certain things that I want to do and I want to say, but I can't because there's a liability in that. And so, but I can still do it in a way that's still authentic to us and for the brand and for the vision and where we want to go. as long as we're around, that's never going away. People can take it, they can leave it if they don't believe in it, and Yvonne and I have done a really good job of bringing in people who align with it. Thank God. We've messed it up a few
They're the
times.
alternative kids.
Yeah, we've messed it up a few times. But anyway, experiencing all of these things throughout my life gave me that confidence. And where I want to go with this, I'm going to talk about my construction career, because some of the things, we're in a new era now. It's 2025, right? And my construction career spanned from 1998 to basically 2010. So however long that was. During that timeline, dude, I got fucking brutalized.
Yeah, you've told me
I
some
mean, that
stories.
was a different world then. So like the guys that basically raised me in that field and in that trade, these guys were ultimately like big brothers to me. And they would beat the shit out of me so bad, verbally, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes physically, It amazes me, like some of the issues that I've been dealing with, just call it over the last month. I sit back and I think, had I said that to some of the guys that I used to work with, my first instinct wouldn't have been, am I going to get fired? It's like, am I going to get my ass kicked on the side of the trailer where nobody can see it? And like, that sounds terrible. And anybody that's listening to this is going to say, their first rebuttal is going to be, you can't do that. You can't do that.
I don't know, man. I think it's more common than for our generation to have memories like that. But you're right. We're not in those times anymore.
The memory, sure, but looking back at it, I'm like, okay, what kind of man would I be had I not experienced that? It made me a tougher,
it's tough love, right?
Human,
yeah,
right. And the thing that aggravates me is, how do you do that in this day and age without
a lawsuit?
Yeah, getting sued. And like,
I mean,
you know what I
don't
mean?
know if you do. I don't know if you can. And it's just like, we've had this discussion on this show before where we sound like our dads or our grandfathers or whatever male you had in your life coming up that was just kind of like, it was the tough love philosophy. It's like, if I'm not doing this, it means I don't like you.
I still say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
No,
I know.
In
a room and I'm not busting your balls.
Yeah. It's like, then
you should be worried.
You're not on my radar. Right. So I don't know if you can that. I don't know if we'll ever get that back. That's my opinion. I don't know if we'll ever get that kind of tough love, cut to the chase. This is, I just don't think it's coming back. I don't. I mean, because I see it too. I try. I mean, I'll try to razz folks that work for us or others, and it doesn't land.
No, it upsets me sometimes, man. To be honest with you, and I'm not saying that like bullying is okay. It's definitely not, but I think there should be. I don't even know what I'm trying to say here. Like, there should be a way that you can develop people without having to worry about their feelings first.
Well, I don't like
that
bullying
sounds very
at all. No, because
it does.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I get where you're coming from. I mean, I don't like bullying at all, man. I was one of the fortunate ones. I didn't really get bullied. I had one instance with a big dude that was a couple grades ahead of me, and wanted to fight, and I was able to laugh my way out of it because I was nervous, but he thought I was calling his bluff. So, and his buddy, and but other than that, I escaped pretty unscathed on that. In school, at least, I had my other, there's business bullying. There's a bunch of that shit, right? What you're talking about is people that genuinely care about you, but they're calling your shit.
Yeah.
That's different to me than, like, I'm not saying, yeah, you should just abuse people and should verbally abuse them. That's not you, man.
Yeah,
I've never seen that inside. Like, but what you're saying is,
so let me give you an example.
Yeah,
right?
like
like the guys that I grew up with framing houses, these were the guys that would fucking have you in tears by 9:00 in the morning, and
that's like emotional abuse.
Yeah. Like you're
Don
the
Barry,
biggest
bring back
dumbass,
emotional
you
abuse.
fucked this up, you're stupid. I'm gonna bang your mom tonight. Like, just brutal shit.
Yeah,
right?
Stupid.
And I remember one instance, the guy that did this, I still talk to him. He may hear this and remember, and it's kind of funny now. But we were sheeting this roof, right? And he was trying to teach me how to cut like a true triangle, not like a 90-degree triangle, like a true triangle on a piece of plywood. And at the time, and he's standing like up in the corner. We were sheeting a roof, so he was up in the trusses, right? and him and his lead guy are up there, and they're trying to walk me through step by step with my hands
Yeah.
on what to do. And dude, I just wasn't getting it. He got so pissed off, man. He jumps down off the wall and he grabs my fucking framing square. He throws it out the window and he goes, "You have just reached an all new level of stupid." He goes, "Give me your fucking tools and go sit in your fucking truck until I tell you." So here I am. I'm 21, 22 years old. I'm down in the street sitting there in my truck, so mad. But I knew I'd get my ass beat if I tried to go do anything. So I'm just sitting there. I'm so mad. I'm crying.
In front of the rest
And
of
I
your
just
crew,
wanted
too.
to fucking leave.
Yeah.
But I knew if I did, I would never live it down. And I had a big enough like deal where I'm like, nope, I'm just going to take it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take it. And I took it for 10 years. And that's what developed that thick skin, is all of those. But at the same time, those were the same guys that would do that to you day after day after day after day. And then Friday rolls around and everybody gets paid. They would take you to the bar or the strip club and just get you annihilated drunk.
Made everything better.
But, while you're doing that, they're like, "Hey, man, I'm an asshole to you, but you're getting it." And then over time,
Yeah.
it slowly starts to decrease. And then the next thing you know, you're mentoring some other kid in the same way, and you don't even realize it, right? And I always swore when I was coming up in that trade that I would never be a yeller and I would never be a screamer because of what I dealt with. I'm like, I'm never going to make somebody else experience that. To a degree, I did.
Yeah.
There was times when I did it. But, when I got to a leadership position and being a foreman and then a general foreman and running multiple crews multiple times, everybody wanted to work for me because the way that I dealt with it was different. And I always thought about that, like guys would build a wall upside down. They would blister this thing with 8,000 nails and it'd be upside down. Literally upside down.
Yeah.
And they would come to me scared. And I'm like, "What?"
I've seen.
And they're like, "I made a mistake." I would just hand them a nail puller and I'm like, "I'll see you after lunch,
Go fix
man."
it. Yeah.
And I would just make them fix it. They never did it again. You pull 8,000 nails out of a wall with a nail gun, you ain't doing that again.
I mean, I think
promise
that's
you that.
that's not bullying. That's just like you made it, you fix it.
Right. But I mean, looking back, I mean, I think to myself, I hated it at the time.
Yeah.
But I am forever grateful that they rode my ass and slapped me around the way that they did, because I would not be who I am and I would not have the confidence that I have had I not experienced all of that.
And I think, like, for my experience, I have been bullied. It just wasn't necessarily at the school setting. It was on jobs. And I wasn't a construction worker. I was working a cook line. I did it for 4 or 5 years. And
the restaurant game is even
it's
just
brutal.
It's
here. It is. And I remember I started as a busboy because I wanted to become a cook. And they made me a cook. And it was, I'll never forget the dude. I won't say his name, but he was kind of like the head guy there. And he was, they were terrible to me, man. Like, just terrible. And I did the same as you, but I was like, I'm going to go back because I don't, and at least at that point in my life, it was important to me. I don't know why. I look back at it now as a minimum wage gig, but like at the end of the day, I was like, damn it, I'll be. And you're right. It taught me to multitask. It taught me to cope with emotion, and then get things done rationally. And it was also, I knew the same thing that you did, because we'd be on a Friday night at 2 a.m. You know the restaurant industry, because we would close down at 11, kitchens cleaned by 1. 2 a.m., we're all going out, and they treat me like a little brother.
Yeah.
And then you work your way up the food chain, and then so that those experiences, I think they still exist. I think it depends on the industry. But you're right. It's not like it used to be. I mean, it was.
So I guess the whole point of this, and what I'm trying to get at, and the takeaway from this whole episode is, you still see the same things that was around for when I was in school and you were in school. And I don't ever think it's going away, but you'll see the kid with the pink hair, the green hair, and the, excuse me, the one that is trying to stand out and look different on purpose.
The black sheep. Yeah.
So I'm like, I think to myself all the time, why is there not a way to teach these young kids it's okay to express this in a way that's going to develop self-confidence without creating all of this like negative mental health? You know what I mean? Because I mean, like I said, all the experiences that I had, I have zero mental health issues. Like I don't, and
You think?
I'm not demonizing that. Like I'm not making fun of it. I'm not demonizing it.
Nah.
I'm just like, there needs to be a way to teach these kids the way that I was taught to use it to their advantage as they get older.
Yeah, I hear you. Trust me, as a guy with a couple kids in high school, uh, it's tough because you didn't realize that till now. You know what I mean? Like you said, like you're right. Like you're like, dude, in the moment, you're like, this is gonna be my life. I'm gonna be the kid getting beat down or physically, mentally, whatever. And you do, you get wiser. You get wiser. And I remember people giving me advice is like, this will pass. This will pass. Don't worry. That kid wants to fight you at 3:00, show up, get your ass kicked. You'll learn from it. And I couldn't understand why someone was giving me advice like that.
One of the other ways that I dealt with it, in framing, another story. This is just kind of what I knew I had to do was let them know that they weren't getting to me, so to speak, right? And I was always that
Critical.
kid. They'd done it to me so much that I was like, okay, now, fuck you. Like I'm gonna make you want to do it more, almost kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's funny as that sounds. And so I had reached a point in kind of like my skill level to where I wanted to learn how to lay out a house. And what that means is like lay out where windows and doors go and where the other guys are going to put studs to frame a wall. Basically, there's an art to that. There's a skill level to that and a way that is done. And, you learn that over time. You're just taught that over time from the guys that you're working for. Well, I didn't want to wait. I was very impatient and I'm like, I want to learn how to do it. And so they were razzing me about it for a long time. And I was just having a really shitty day. And I remember this one day, I looked at the guy that was running the framing crew, and he was like a big brother to me, man. He was the worst one. Like, he would pick on me so bad. And I love him to death now. He's like a big brother to me. But I asked him one day, I'm like, hey, can you leave me the keys to the trailer? He kind of looked at me. He's like, what? I said, I'm going to stay late. I promise I'll put everything away. I'll roll everything up. I'll lock the trailer. You can have the keys back in the morning. He goes, what the fuck are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to take the scraps and I'm going to kind of just practice laying out. And then I'll clean it all up and I'll roll up and I'll put it away. He sat there, no shit. He looked at me for about 10 seconds, didn't say a word. And I'm like, is that okay? He's like, you motherfucker. He said it just like that.
Yeah.
And he dropped his bag and he told the other guys, go ahead and go. And that dude literally stayed there with me for 2 hours after work.
There's the difference though. He cared, man.
Yeah. And he was like, you're pissing me off, but you're persistent, and I'm going to teach you how to do this.
That's pretty cool. That's real cool, actually. And that's the difference. So when a guy like that starts like giving you shit, you'll remember the night he stayed with you till whatever.
Real. I will never forget that.
And maybe that's what the episode really is too. Is there's not enough like leaders.
Right.
That's the other part of this. It's probably a whole nother episode, bud. But like you don't see. I mean, I see this in my little world with my own kids, but you don't see enough kids stepping up to help
internally.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. Like that dude that stayed with you is the same dude that in the pit or whatever the hell you called it, stood up and is like, hey, you keep messing with him, you're gonna be messing with me. That's not being taught enough. I don't even know if you can teach that. That's just character.
It's something that I'm dealing with right now, man. It's kind of why I wanted to talk about this. So like I'm trying to get our corporate staff at Clean Eats, to kind of be self-governed almost, if you will. You know, like performance and, things like that aren't going to increase unless there's a little bit of accountability factor there within to where I don't have to get involved, to where somebody's going to go to somebody and go, hey, man, we don't do that shit around
That's like
here.
The last stop on the
chain.
Yeah.
And I struggle with it. And I know a lot of people do. And
I mean, you're not alone, but
at the end of the day, it's on me. It comes down to me. I have to have ownership of it and almost set the standard. You know what I mean?
I guess it's like that. I don't know if that can be trained. I think that it's a character build. I don't know if it's a training moment. And that's where it's tricky. It's like you just figure that someone will take the leash and no, I see it. I see it too. I think most businesses would agree, and not businesses, just in general. There's not a lot of people stepping up to kind of show the way to those that don't quite get it,
Yeah,
or they're getting it stacked against them.
Anymore, and I'll use my field. You know, we're in the restaurant business anymore now with like C-suite executives, which is a whole nother episode that is coming.
Yeah.
So be prepared for this one. But anymore now, you get these leaders, you know, these CEOs, COOs, CMO marketing, any C-suite level employee. They come in and it's all their accolades. It's all them. It's all about them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very rare that you find a good one that is good at building that internal team and that internal standard of self-governed and setting those standards. It's just rare. You don't see it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably getting way off track, but I agree. I know where you're going with it. It's kind of, again, it's the dude that stays with you on the job site. It's the dude that you're getting beat down on a mat and they're like, hey man, enough.
Yeah.
And we've grown up now. And where do those people exist in kind of the career world, the business world? They're out there. I'm not trying to be like a defeatist. I mean, there's a lot of great people out there, but yeah, it was just automatic back in the day. And now it's kind of like you have to really dig to find that character. So.
Well, I don't know how to wrap this up, man. I mean,
we went all over the damn place.
I kind of came full circle, but,
yeah.
you know, I know that I've experienced a lot when it comes to being bullied and being able to use that to toughen my own skin, to have the confidence to be who I am. And I want people out there to know that you need to find a way to do that. Somehow, some way. I don't have the answer for you. I wish I did. If I did, I'd be wealthier. I'd be a very rich man if I could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Figure out
the world's problem.
But you just somehow you have to figure out how to take those struggles and use them to your advantage and use them for confidence instead of sitting around and having a pity party and feeling sorry for yourself, because nobody else is going to do it but you.
And I'll tack on is I had a really wise friend, much older, lived a lot more life than I, and he's a big dude, but he wasn't always a big dude. He told me when my son was born, he's like, you're gonna have a lot of great times, you're gonna have a lot of hard times. He's like, and the hardest thing you're gonna see is your kids have to get through this life without you being by them. It was a few years after he was born, and he said, and what you need to remember is it's who they run with, and they don't need a lot of them, but they need one of them. I really think like you're right, because if they're going through the bullying, if they're going through having just at least one other person outside of the immediate family unit to confide in, that to me is where you start to see the change of, I'll get through this. I'll use this to make myself stronger. It's the situations where someone just doesn't have anything. So anyway, good stuff, brother.
All right, man. All right guys. Till next time.